How did you choose the title for this class? It's based off of this beautiful poem that I read at or a sutra that I read at the end of class from Lauren Roche. And that sutra, if you wanted to look it up, is 141, verse 141. Yeah? What are some movements we did from Prana Flow? Name them. The Partha Vasisthasana is from Prana Flow. That's that side plank with the back bend. They also have it in other practices, but specifically we do it a lot in Prana Flow. The lunge with the flow up and down is also from Prana Flow. Yeah. Okay. How long are the classes in the art of sequencing? The classes that you'll be doing in the practice itself will be 2 hours long, but you'll also be having homework to watch and practice hour-long classes, but that'll happen before the training, yeah? What do you get in a longer vinyasa practice as opposed to a shorter practice? That's a great question. So hopefully you noticed that today when we did the longer practice is we take our time building up and we take our time cooling down. So generally when I teach a much shorter practice, we get into it quite quickly because Mama only got so much time to warm you guys up. But what I love personally about like a 90 or 2 hour class, I mean, you can even hear it in my voice, because of the elongated beginning and end, it really allows for a much more grounding and cooling practice, and the Shavasana is also a lot longer, which is muy importante for the nervous system. Yeah. What are some ways we prepped for the peak pose? So the peak pose today was that reclined variation of hero with the back bend. And so how we warmed it up was that revolved lunge thigh stretch. We warmed it up actually in a lot of ways. Lunges themselves do that. The mermaid variation warmed up. All that stuff we did with the arms overhead, as well as the cactus arms, opened up the chest. We did some lateral opening with the twisting. How do hip and heart opening complement each other? Well, specifically, the kind of hip opening that we did today was the front of the pelvis, which is what you need to open in order to back bend. So this was actually a back bend in a very funny variation. Yeah. So this peak pose was a back bend. So they went together because you need to open the whole front body in order to do this peak pose. Yeah. Who is this style of class good for? Who would benefit from it? I think everybody. Everybody benefits from this kind of practice because to flow is really important, because a lot of what we do, I find in regular life, is very static. And also for anybody who is driving or biking or running or skiing, anybody whose front body is kind of shortened, which I feel like is 99% of the population, then this practice would be really good for that. Yeah. What other classes on the site are like this? So other classes that are on the site are like this. So if you go to the back bending body focus part, you'll find a lot of practices that are very similar to this one. Also, fluid power I find is very similar to this one. It strengthens the back body a whole lot more, but it's opening up the front body at the same time, which is what I love about back bends. Yeah. When we are stretching the quads in low lunge, are we ever kicking into our hand while we pull the heel or just pulling it in? Yeah. So both variations are awesome, and they just create a very different feeling in the body, which is why I was very specific today of not kicking the foot into the hand, but bringing the heel to the bum. Kicking the foot into the hand engages the hamstring, which is going to help stretch out the quadriceps. So it's a much more active stretch, where the one that we were doing was more passive. And I was doing that specifically because we were going towards hero pose. Both are great though. Okay. Will you be running further trainings, for example, a 300 hour other than your upcoming sequencing one? Yes. So I'll be back in the training rotation and doing, like, we'll be offering our next 300 hour next year. I just want my little one to be a bit bigger and sleeping without me, so then I can be free to offer more training. So the vision around this is we'll be hitting the 2-year mark next year with the little one. So I'll be a lot more available to offer trainings. And also the other part of that is I really like doing trainings in person, not as much on the internet. I'm doing one this year because people are asking for it, but I would prefer to hug you and look at you and smell you versus doing the internet one. So yes, we'll be doing more and a lot more in 2022. Are we in 2021 right now? Yeah, so 2022. I said that. So 300 hour will be in 2022, not 2021. Okay. My fingers get very tingly when stretched out in reclined spinal twist and even in Shavasana with my arms by my sides. Any suggestions? Okay. When we feel tingling in our face anywhere, that generally means that there is a nerve that is being compressed. So I would personally go to massage therapy and get somebody to really open up your shoulder, front of the shoulder, and your pecs. That'll really help let go of that tingling for most of the ones. This also might be structural. I wouldn't know because I can't diagnose you, but it could be a structural. But for most people, massaging that part of the body will help to the chest and the shoulder will help to relieve any kind of compression you might be feeling with the arms out by your sides. Great question. What books would you recommend to explore and learn more about Tantra? So the first book I would recommend is Tantric Quest by Daniel Odier. It's in the write-up of this class, so you can absolutely just scroll on down and look at it. It is the story of a man's journey exploring Tantra. I found it to be the most comprehensive and accessible book on Tantra. That's the good introduction to Tantra. Georg Feuerstein's book Tantra is also a really good one, The Path of Ecstasy. What else would I would say would be a good book on Tantra? I'm just looking towards my bookshelf. Spandakarika, I read a little bit of that. Those are the sacred texts, as well as the Radiant Sutras. These are more like inspirational pieces of Tantra. I would start there. I'm a little stoned right now, yoga stoned. So I will go look at my books and then I'll post it in Facebook. Okay. I'll write some books on there for you guys. Was the revolved side Vasisthasana Wild thing or variation? I couldn't quite see it. So Parsva Vasisthasana is a variation of Wild thing, but the one leg is straight and one knee is bent. So it's more like a side plank than it is like a bridge or a wheel. Do you create your flow as you go, or are your classes planned? I do a little bit of both. So I've been teaching a really long time. So I have what I call skeletons. So I have a bunch of classes in my mind, probably about 75 skeletons of classes, and then working towards specific peak poses. And then I kind of pepper in what I'm excited right now. Or at the moment. So so I know where I'm going and I know what I need to open up, and I've got a lot of the basic poses are in the sequence already. And then I start to kind of add a little bit of flavor in the moment, depending upon like where the spirit moves me. But like, I would say like 60% of the sequence is already planned out, and I already have that sense before I show up to class. Great question.